4 terrifying beasts, 10 mysterious horns, and a prophecy that predicted the rise and fall of every major empire with shocking accuracy. But here's what nobody tells you. These visions from the book of Daniel aren't just about ancient history. They might be describing events happening right now, in your lifetime. Stop what you're doing for a second. Think about this. A man living 2,500 years ago saw visions that perfectly predicted Alexander the Great, the Roman Empire, and according to many scholars, events that haven't even happened yet. Daniel didn't just see random monsters in his visions. He saw a coded message about world powers that would shape human history from ancient Babylon all the way to our present day, and possibly beyond. What makes this even more incredible is that Daniel saw the same sequence of empires 3 different ways, through different visions, that all tell the exact same story. Today, you're going to understand every single beast, connect them to real historical events, and discover why scholars believe the final phase is still coming. Before we dive into these mind-blowing visions, here's what you need to know. Daniel was living in Babylon around 550 BCE when he received these visions. Think of it like this. You're living in New York City, but you're originally from Texas, and suddenly God shows you the future of not just America, but every superpower that will exist for the next 3,000 years. That's Daniel's situation. The book of Daniel uses beasts as symbols for empires, and an angel actually explains what they mean right in the text. This isn't some conspiracy theory or wild speculation. The book literally tells us these beasts represent kings and kingdoms. The way Daniel presents history as a sequence of predatory monsters, contrasted with truly human rule under God, is what scholars call apocalyptic literature. Basically, God's way of pulling back the curtain on how power really works. The winged lion, Babylon. Ready for the first beast? In Daniel chapter 7 verse 4, we see a lion with eagle's wings. Picture the most powerful predator on land combined with the most powerful bird in the sky, like combining a grizzly bear with an F-22 fighter jet. That's Babylon at its peak. But then something bizarre happens. The wings are ripped off, the lion is forced to stand on 2 feet like a human, and it's given a human heart. This perfectly matches what we know about ancient Babylon. If you walked through the city gates during Nebuchadnezzar's reign, you'd see lions everywhere. The famous Ishtar Gate and Processional Way were decorated with hundreds of striding lions made from glazed bricks. Lions were literally Babylon's national symbol, like the eagle is for America. The eagle wings represent how quickly Babylon rose to power, conquering the known world faster than any empire before it. But wait, it gets weirder. The transformation from beast to human actually connects to another story in Daniel. Remember when King Nebuchadnezzar went insane and lived like an animal, eating grass like an ox? Daniel chapter 4 tells us his hair grew like eagle feathers and his nails like bird claws. Only when he acknowledged God's authority was his human mind restored. The winged lion losing its wings and becoming human represents the same thing. Empires that start with brutal strength eventually lose their power and become more human, more vulnerable. Think about it. Even the British Empire went from ruling the world to being a small island nation. Power never lasts. The Lopsided Bear, Medo-Persian Empire. Now, the second beast makes the first one look like a house cat. Daniel sees a bear raised up on one side with 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth, and it's told to devour much flesh. This represents the Medo-Persian Empire that conquered Babylon in 539 BCE. Quick question, have you ever seen a bear stand up? Now imagine it's lopsided, like it's leaning to one side. That's exactly what Daniel saw. The bear being raised on one side shows us something crucial about this empire. It was technically the combined kingdom of the Medes and Persians, but the Persians under Cyrus the Great became the dominant partner. Think of it like a business partnership, where one person does 90% of the work, but both names are on the door. That's why the bear is lopsided. The Persian side was way stronger than the Median side. Those 3 ribs in the bear's mouth? Not random at all. They represent the 3 major kingdoms that Persia had to conquer to become the dominant world power. Babylon, which fell in 539 BCE, Lydia in western Turkey, which fell in 546 BCE, and Egypt, which fell in 525 BCE. The command to arise and devour much flesh came true as Persia became the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from India to Ethiopia. That's like controlling everything from Los Angeles to Moscow. Are you noticing the pattern yet? Each beast gets more complex and more unusual as we go. That's not an accident. Daniel is showing us that as human history progresses, empires become more complicated and harder to understand. The four-headed leopard, Greece. Buckle up, because the third beast is where things get really wild. It's a leopard, already the fastest land predator, but this one has 4 wings on its back and 4 heads. Let that sink in for a second. A 4-headed flying leopard. And the text says, dominion was given to it, meaning its power wasn't seized, but granted by God. This leopard represents Greece under Alexander the Great, and the symbolism is almost too perfect. Alexander conquered the entire Persian Empire in just 3 years. 3 years. To put that in perspective, it took America nearly 20 years in Afghanistan, and we didn't even control the whole country. Alexander conquered everything from Greece to India in 3 years. That's why the leopard, the fastest predator, gets 4 wings to show supernatural speed. But why 4 heads? Here's where it gets prophetic. After Alexander died suddenly at age 32, younger than most NFL quarterbacks, his empire was divided among his 4 top generals. These became 4 separate Greek kingdoms: the Ptolemaic kingdom in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire in Syria and Mesopotamia, the kingdom of Pergamon in Asia Minor, and the Antigonid dynasty in Macedonia. The 4 heads of the leopard predicted this 4-way split centuries before it happened. Imagine someone in 1776 predicting that America would one day have 50 states. That's the level of accuracy we're talking about. Hold on, because here's something that'll blow your mind. In Daniel chapter 8, the prophet sees the same Greek empire as a goat moving so fast it doesn't touch the ground, with 1 prominent horn that breaks and becomes 4 horns. Same empire, different vision, exact same outcome. When God repeats something in different ways, He's making absolutely sure we get the message. The terrifying iron beast, Rome or future empire. The 4th beast is so terrifying that Daniel couldn't even compare it to a real animal. He just calls it dreadful and terrible and exceedingly strong. It has iron teeth and bronze claws, and it devours and breaks everything in pieces, trampling what's left under its feet. Imagine a creature from your worst nightmare, then make it worse. This beast has 10 horns, and then something really strange happens. A little horn comes up among them, plucking out 3 of the original horns. This little horn has eyes like a human and a mouth speaking great things. Stop and think about this for a second. We're either looking at ancient history or your future. Most traditional Christian interpreters identify this 4th beast as Rome, the Iron Empire that crushed all opposition and dominated the world for centuries. The iron teeth connect directly to Daniel chapter 2, where Rome is represented as iron legs on a statue of world empires. Rome was different from all previous empires, more systematic, more organized, more brutal in its efficiency. Rome was like the Terminator of ancient empires. It absolutely would not stop. But what about those 10 horns, and especially that little horn? This is where scholars start arguing and where things get really interesting for us today. Some believe the 10 horns represent 10 kings or kingdoms that would come from the Roman Empire, with the little horn being a future world leader who hasn't appeared yet. Others, especially historians, argue that this already happened. Plot twist. If we follow the critical interpretation, the 4th beast might actually be Greece, not Rome. Stay with me here. In that case, the little horn would be Antiochus IV Epiphanes, the Greek Seleucid king who lived from 175 to 164 BCE. This guy was basically Hitler before Hitler. He outlawed Jewish practices, set up a pagan altar in the Jerusalem temple, sacrificed pigs on it, which is like forcing Muslims to eat pork in Mecca, and stop the daily sacrifices. He literally tried to wipe out Judaism completely. The text says this little horn would persecute the saints for time, times, and half a time, which most scholars interpret as 3.5 years. Guess how long Antiochus's persecution lasted? From 167 BCE, when he set up the abomination in the temple, until 164 BCE, when the Maccabees rededicated it. That's right, about 3.5 years. This rededication is what Jewish people celebrate as Hanukkah. So every December, when you see menorahs lit up, you're seeing a celebration of Daniel's prophecy being fulfilled. But here's why many Christian interpreters still see Rome as the fourth beast, and this is important. In Daniel chapter 8, when the angel Gabriel explicitly names the empires, he identifies the ram with 2 horns as Media and Persia, and the goat as Greece. If Media and Persia are combined as one empire, which Daniel seems to do, then we have Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and then we need a 4th empire. That would be Rome. Plus, and this is huge, Jewish sources like the Talmud consistently identify the 4th kingdom as Rome. Early Christians living under Roman rule naturally saw themselves in this prophecy. And when you read Revelation chapter 13, John describes a beast that combines features of Daniel's lion, bear, and leopard, clearly drawing from Daniel's vision, but applying it to his own time under Rome. Are you ready for the mind-blowing part? Daniel saw this same sequence 3 different ways. In chapter 2, it's a statue with a gold head for Babylon, silver chest for Medo-Persia, bronze belly for Greece, and iron legs for Rome, ending with feet of iron mixed with clay. In chapter 7, it's the 4 beasts we just covered. In chapter 8, it's a ram and goat that the angel explicitly identifies as Medo-Persia and Greece. When God repeats something 3 times in different ways, you better believe he wants you to pay attention. He's showing us that these empires aren't random. There's a pattern, a progression from the glory of gold to the brittleness of clay mixed with iron. Each empire thinks it will last forever, but God has numbered their days. Sound familiar? Every superpower in history thought they were the exception. But wait, there's more to Daniel's beast imagery that most people miss. In chapter 6, we have literal lions in the lion's den. These aren't symbolic, they're real predators that God shuts the mouths of to save Daniel. The message hits hard. If God can control literal beasts, he can control beast-like empires. If God can shut a lion's mouth, he can shut down a government. Then there's Nebuchadnezzar himself in chapter 4, driven insane and living like a beast, eating grass like an ox, with hair like eagle feathers and nails like bird claws. Picture the most powerful man in the world, reduced to living like an animal in the field. He becomes a beast until he acknowledges God's rule. This shows us the moral framework of all Daniel's beast visions. Pride makes humans act like beasts, while acknowledging God restores true humanity. Here's the billion-dollar question everyone asks. Has the final phase of Daniel's prophecy happened yet? Those 10 toes on the statue from chapter 2, those 10 horns on the 4th beast, do they represent something still in our future? The text says that in the days of these final kings, God will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. The stone cut without human hands will strike the statue and become a mountain that fills the whole earth. Think about this. Many believers see this as pointing to events still to come. They argue that while Rome fell in 476 CE, it never had a clear 10-kingdom phase that matches Daniel's description. Some suggest a revived Roman Empire or a final world government will fulfill this prophecy. Others point out that the European Union emerged from the heartland of the old Roman Empire, has had various numbers of member states, and wonder if that connects somehow. Still others look at the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, or other global organizations and ask if we're seeing the stage being set right now. What we know for certain is that Daniel's visions teach us that earthly empires, no matter how powerful they seem, are temporary. They rise like beasts from the chaos of the sea, they devour and destroy, but their time is limited. In contrast, Daniel sees one like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven, receiving an everlasting kingdom that will never pass away. This human figure stands in complete contrast to the beasts, representing truly human rule under God's authority. This isn't just ancient history, and if you think it is, you're not paying attention. The same patterns Daniel revealed continue today. Nations still act like predators, Russia invading Ukraine, China threatening Taiwan. Powerful governments still persecute believers, just ask Christians in North Korea or Iran. Human pride still leads to beast-like behavior, just scroll through Twitter for 5 minutes. But the promise remains. God's kingdom will outlast them all. 3 specific signs we should watch for based on Daniel's visions. First, a final confederation of nations arising from the old Roman sphere of influence, basically Europe and the Mediterranean. Second, a leader who speaks arrogantly against God and persecutes believers for a specific period. Third, increasing pressure on religious freedom that mirrors what happened under Antiochus. These patterns have repeated throughout history, from Nero to Hitler to modern-day China, and may intensify before the end. Why does this matter for your life today? Because Daniel's visions remind us that we're part of a bigger story. The empires and powers that seem invincible in our time are just as temporary as Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome. When you see nations rising and falling, when you watch powerful leaders speaking arrogantly, when you notice increasing hostility toward faith, remember Daniel's beasts. You're seeing the same patterns he revealed 2,500 years ago. The real question is which kingdom you're investing in. The temporary kingdoms that rise and fall like beasts, or the eternal kingdom that's coming with the Son of Man. If this blew your mind, you need to see Part 2 where we decode Daniel's 70 weeks timeline and discover the exact prediction of the Messiah's arrival. Comment below which beast surprised you most. Was it the lopsided bear, the four-headed leopard, or that terrifying fourth beast? Subscribe and hit the notification bell because next week I'm revealing how Daniel's prophecies connect directly to the book of Revelation. The same God who revealed history's timeline before it happened has a plan for your life, and understanding these prophecies is just the beginning of discovering what that plan might be.